It's a remarkable piece of apparatus. Just have a look at this machine. Up till now, a few things still had to be set by hand, but from this moment, it works all by itself. Things sometimes go wrong, of course. I hope that nothing goes wrong today, but we have to allow for the possibility. The machinery should go on working continuously for 12 hours. This apparatus was invented by our former commandant. I assisted at the very earliest experiments and had to share in all the work until its completion. But the credit for inventing it belongs to him alone. Have you ever heard of our former commandant? No. Well, it isn't saying too much if I tell you that the organization of the whole penal colony is his work. We who were his friends knew even before he died that the organization of the colony was so perfect that his successor, even with 1,000 new schemes in his head, would find it impossible to alter anything, at least for years to come. And our prophecy has come true. The new commandant has had to acknowledge its truth. Pity you never met the old commandant. But I'm rambling on, and here stands his apparatus before us. It consists, as you see, of 3 parts. In the course of time, each of these parts has acquired a kind of popular nickname. The lower one is called the bed, the upper one the designer, and this one here in the middle that moves up and down is called the harrow. The harrow. Oh, it's a good name for it. The needles are set in like teeth of a harrow, and the whole thing works something like a harrow, although its action is limited to one place and contrived with much more artistic skill. Anyhow, you'll soon understand it. On the bed here, the condemned man is laid. Now, I'm going to describe the apparatus first before I set it in motion, and then you'll be able to follow the proceedings better. Well, here is the bed as I told you. It is completely covered with a layer of cotton wool, and you'll find out why later. On this cotton wool, the condemned man is laid face down, quite naked, of course. Here are straps for the hands, the feet, and for the neck to bind him fast. Here at the head of the bed, where the man, as I said, first lays down his face, is this little gag of felt which can be easily regulated to go straight into his mouth. It is meant to keep him from screaming and biting his tongue. Of course, the man is forced to take the felt into his mouth, for otherwise his neck would be broken by the strap. The cotton is a specially prepared cotton wool. That's why it looks so different. I'll tell you presently what it's for. Yes, now, listen. Both the bed and the designer have a battery each. The bed needs one for itself, the designer for the harrow. As soon as the man is strapped down, the bed is set in motion. It quivers in minute, very rapid vibrations, both from side to side and up and down. You will have seen similar apparatus in hospitals, but in our bed, the movements are all precisely calculated. You see, they have to correspond very exactly to the movements of the harrow. And the harrow is the instrument for the actual execution of the sentence. Now, our sentence does not sound unjust. Whatever commandment the prisoner has disobeyed is written upon his body by the harrow. This prisoner, for instance, will have written on his body, "Honor thy superiors." Of course, the prisoner does not know the sentence. There would be no point in telling him. He'll learn it on his body. Much as I dislike it, I shall have to cut my explanation short. But of course, tomorrow when the apparatus has been cleaned, its one drawback is that it gets so messy. I can recapitulate all the details. For the present, then, only the essentials. When the man lies down on the bed and it begins to vibrate, the harrow is lowered onto his body. It regulates itself automatically so that the needles barely touch his skin. And then the performance begins. An ignorant onlooker would see no difference between one punishment and another. The harrow appears to do its work with uniform regularity. As it quivers, its points pierce the skin of the body, which is itself quivering from the vibration of the bed. The actual progress of the sentence can be watched, as the harrow is made of glass. Getting the needles fixed in the glass was a technical problem, but after many experiments, we overcame the difficulty. No trouble was too great for us to take, you see. And now, anyone can look through the glass and watch the inscription taking form on the body. Wouldn't you care to come a little nearer and have a look at the needles? You see, there are two kinds of needles arranged in multiple patterns. Each long needle has a short one beside it. The long needle does the writing, and the short needle sprays a jet of water to wash away the blood and keep the inscription clear. Blood and water together are then conducted here through small tunnels into this main tunnel and down a waste pipe into the pit. But now, the most important thing. In the designer are all the cogwheels that control the movements of the harrow, and this machinery is regulated according to the inscription demanded by the sentence. I'm still using the plans drawn up by the former commandant. Of course, the script can't be a simple one. It's not supposed to kill a man straight off, but only after an interval of, on an average, 12 hours. The turning point is reckoned to come at the 6th hour. So there have to be lots and lots of flourishes around the actual script. The script itself runs around the body only in a narrow girdle. The rest of the body is reserved for the embellishments. Can you appreciate now the work accomplished by the harrow and the whole apparatus? Just watch it. Can you follow it? The harrow is beginning to write. When it finishes the first draft of the inscription on the man's back, the layer of cotton wool begins to roll and slowly turns the body over to give the harrow fresh space for writing. Meanwhile, the raw part that has been written on lies on the cotton wool, which is specially prepared to staunch the bleeding and so makes all ready for a new deepening of the script. Then the teeth at the edge of the harrow, as the body turns further round, tears the cotton wool away from the wounds, throws it into the pit, and there is more work for the harrow. So it keeps on writing deeper and deeper for the whole 12 hours. The first 6 hours, the condemned man stays alive almost as before. He suffers only pain. After 2 hours, the felt gag is taken away, for he has no longer strength to scream. Here, into this electrically heated basin at the head of the bed, some warm rice pap is poured, from which the man, if he feels like it, can take as much as his tongue can lap. Not one of them ever misses the chance. I can remember none, and my experience is extensive. Only about the 6th hour does the man lose all desire to eat. I usually kneel down here at the moment and observe what happens. The man rarely swallows his last mouthful. He only rolls it around his mouth and spits it out into the pit. I have to duck just then, or he would spit it in my face. But how quiet he grows at just about the 6th hour. Enlightenment comes to the most dull-witted. It begins around the eyes. From there it radiates, a moment that might tempt one to get under the harrow oneself. Nothing more happens than that the man begins to understand the inscription. He purses his mouth as if he were listening. You've seen how difficult it is to decipher the script with one's eyes, but our man deciphers it with his wounds. To be sure, that is a hard task. He needs 12 hours to accomplish it. By that time, the harrow has pierced him quite through and casts him into the pit, where he pitches down upon the blood and water and the cotton wool. Then the judgment has been fulfilled, and we, the soldier and I, bury him.